So ArenaNet have posted a blog post, which has caused a bit of interest on the old Guild Wars 2 community, and it's about fun. Now the whole post is about, is it fun, and the mentality that ArenaNet take to creating their content within Guild Wars 2 to try and basically looking at it in a different angle, a different way of figuring out how a game should play and the actual mechanics of creating players' enjoyment, I suppose is probably the best way of putting it. And how instead of the traditional methods of looking at something, they always come back to the idea of looking at, is it fun or not? And my personal view is, this is a very good idea, obviously, because everyone wants it to be fun. But how measurable is this? Can you measure success with fun? Can you, Tim?
Well, you can't really measure fun, can you? It's a completely subjective thing.
I don't know, baby.
But at the same time, ArenaNet, they don't really need to care about subscriber numbers that much, because they're concerned with an experience that people don't have to endlessly repeat, in order to get value out of a monthly subscription. So fun, it's an important thing for them to gauge internally and through the beta weekends exactly how much fun people are getting out of the game. But at the same time, I think it's important for people to understand that they're not really interested in creating an MMO that fits into the same mold as WoW. They're just that's what they're kind of trying to get at here, is they're more concerned with creating a fun experience that can just exist within itself and not really be judged the standard, which is you're paying a monthly subscription, come online, repeat your daily quests, grind the same bosses in dungeons and raids, get points, repeat these actions, and at the end of it you're supposed to get loot, fun. I mean, personally, I played well, I got to say, you kill the boss once the first time and it's a great experience, and then you got to go and grind the same boss over and over again, and it's just for gear, and it just feels like an arbitrary carrot on a stick that you're endlessly seeing so that they can get your subscription. ArenaNet don't really worry about that. They're just trying to create a fun multiplayer game, really, and I don't think it should be thought of as traditional MMO.
Yeah, I agree. But is ArenaNet now saying that they are the creators of fun, and other MMOs didn't look at fun in that aspect? I mean, it's great that they want to create a game that is fun, and they take a lot of feedback from their Q&A, and that makes a load of sense, and obviously from the community. But are they saying that the guys at Blizzard didn't sort of think about fun, and they were thinking more about numbers and stuff? I don't know. And also, obviously they haven't got the subscription, so that is it kind of frees them up a load, that in a lot of ways. Money wise, it kind of pushes a concern on the longevity of the game. But then obviously with Guild Wars 1, they had a lot of expansions that were very popular and very good, and people enjoyed them a lot. So in that sense, if you're bringing out an expansion semi-regularly, which is not unaffordable, but a decent price, probably the same price as an expansion for WoW, to be honest. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that ArenaNet in this blog is trying to say we are the originators of fun, and everyone else, other games don't contain fun. I think they're just saying we're free to really focus on that. Other games, of course they're trying to get a fun experience, because that's ultimately how you get people to play the game. If someone enjoys doing something and has fun doing it, then obviously they're going to be interested in playing the game, possibly even subscribe. But because ArenaNet have the subscriber element required, as you say, free to approach things in a completely different way, their concern is creating a game that people want to buy. Much the same way as you buy a game like, say for instance, Battlefield 3. You buy that game, you don't subscribe to it.
Don't remind me about that.
And you get fun out of it for however long, and then if it stops being fun, then guess what? You don't need to play it. You don't need to subscribe to it because you're not obviously a subscriber. You can just say, I had a fun time playing this, don't really feel like playing it in a while, and then when some new content comes along, hey, I can go back and play it and it's fun again, which possibly might be what happens with Guild Wars. I mean, it's, everything's got a lifespan. Well, I mean, I don't want to say how long to play it for before it gets boring, but eventually it will get, it will see the end of its lifespan. Or more content comes out. So we could start off playing it quite, intensively for a period of 2 months, and then gradually dwindle down as we level up, see what the game's got to offer, and possibly just like log in once or twice a week, and then more content comes out, and it's fun again.
Well, that's a really good thing about
They're not concerned with keeping the subscriber coming back constantly to get the money.
I mean, that is a really good thing on our side, is the fact that we pay once and then they have to put the work in to developing the fun for us to come back anyway. Everything is put onto them in that sense, because the only way they make money is if you come back. Well, if the only way they make additional money on the actual boxed items sold to you, which is a good chunk, but fair enough, it's a big game and a lot of development involved. But the only way they're going to actually make money is via the sales in the making your character look pretty store, which is really good for us, because that means they are going to have to make the game fun.
Yeah,
because we don't have anything there. I mean, in WoW, you've got a subscription. You've got the subscription, so you like we found towards the end of our WoW lives, because of the subscription, you felt obliged you had to log in.
Yeah.
The content in WoW did upgrade, but everyone was paying for it, so everyone felt like they should go be doing it, really, because that's what they were paying for.
Yeah, completely. In Guild Wars, it's more a case of, hey, that was fun, I'm going to go back and play it. I don't have to if I don't want to.
Hello, Tom.
Hello. It's a novel idea to make fun, that's for sure.
It's a novel idea to make it fun.
Subscription-based loads.
Yeah, but you're not an massive MMO person, are you?
No, but I have the inclination to be addicted to them, but for no reason other than it seems to waste time. He says while mining out a huge Minecraft.
But that's another interesting part about Guild Wars, isn't it? Is that, traditionally, like you say, MMOs are designed to be time sinks because they're putting these repeatable tasks in front of you that, as you repeat them, you gain points, which you can then spend on fat loot or whatever. Arena don't have that element with Guild Wars 2 because, as we've said, no subscription, but you just concentrate on an element, and if it's not fun, you're not penalised for
grinding for a reason.
Well, you're not penalised for not doing it, basically, which is another thing that this blog post covers. The blog post says, there's good loot out there if you want it that you can grind for, but it's not essential. You can basically enjoy similar character power without getting the fat loots. It's just there, and it looks cooler.
That was really interesting, actually, because that whole thing about every time I hear when you obviously loot at a high level, loot is on the same kind of par. There's not much difference between it, stats wise, but the look wise, it's if you want to get something that looks cool, you're gonna have to do something a bit more challenging. My instant gut reaction, my MMO heart is, oh my god, that's not fair. It's really weird. I've got this logic which says that's a really cool idea, because now I don't have to worry about getting the best loot to be able to do the stuff that I need to do. Whereas in WoW, you have to get a certain level of equipment before you can go on to the next raid, for example. Like, you can't get to Blackwing Lair if you haven't been through Molten Core a few times or done Elixir and got the cloak. Well, you could do it, but you'd die. So it's, there's no real gear requirement, because as soon as you hit max level, you can go to a vendor place basically and buy a load of max level stuff, which will be on the same level.
Loads of karma,
yeah, exactly. I mean, you would have got loads of karma from leveling up as well, but all of it would be on the same level. You could even go to the auction house, but it would all be on the same level as people who have killed the biggest dragon, which is really good, because that means that when those guys go and try and kill the biggest dragon the next time, you can go with them, and it won't be a hindrance to them because you're a soft, squishy thing. It's just they'll look,
and they won't be doing it. Yeah, they'll be doing it not to get the fat loot that is awesome, but they'll just be doing it mostly because it was fun and they can get some pretty loot from it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, see, it's bizarre. I've got this. It's like this split. There's like this inner MMO monster inside me screaming, "That's bollocks."
But that's the problem. I think with Guild Wars 2, I don't think the traditional formula applies because it is being approached in such a different way, and you can't really look at it through that. At least what we think of now as MMO model.
Yeah, completely. It's almost like it shouldn't be called an MMO.
No,
Because
I
as soon
don't
as
see it
you
as an
brand it
MMO.
MMO, people have all these stereotypes which are thrown onto it.
No,
And actually, when
it's
I was
just a
playing the
fun
game,
multiplayer game, online experience.
yeah, when I was playing the game, the first beta weekend, I didn't think this is completely different. You know how like they were hyping it up to that it was going to be completely different, and we actually came out and thought that wasn't as different as we thought it was going to be, but it was really good. When you actually sit back now and think about it like we're talking about it now, it is actually loads different.
Yeah, I agree. I feel the complete same way.
Because it's completely different, other than the fact that you're killing monsters with your friends in the woods or wherever.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's always going to be some similarities. It is based on that same idea of going around questing, grouping up with people, but it's just so much more fun. You know, even just down to the basics of questing. I mean, yes, essentially you are going around and doing quests, as we might traditionally call them, but, you know, the way in which that happens is a lot more fluid than anything else that's been done before. You know, you're not sitting
and the
around...
events that you bump into, they organically expand as well if you have time to hang around.
Well, yeah, I mean that's it. You know, that's an extension of that. You know, it's all very fluid and organic, and it doesn't feel like I'm sitting around clicking buttons and, you know, reading quest log stuff. I'm just going around and having an awesome time and not really worrying about the mechanics of have I got the quest in my log and things like that. And I think that's kind of how it is different, but the same on a broader scale. You know, there's a lot of the same kind of ideas in Guild Wars 2 in the broad strokes, but when you come down to the details of how those things actually work and play out, you know, it's in the details. It's a completely different beast.
So would you say then that ArenaNet have created something that is fun?
Yeah, I think I'd fucking stupid if I didn't agree with that.
Can you measure success on fun?
Well, question depends on what you hope to achieve. I mean, success in terms of making a fun game, that's completely subjective. Some people are going to, obviously some people are going to hate it and the people who are going to hate it are probably the people who are going to say, well, it's not this, this and this, which...
it's not WoW, basically.
Yeah, I mean, some are going to judge it based on that, but if their goal is purely to give people a fun experience, and I'm sure there's lots of people who agree with them, and they'll have that goal. But of course, you can't always please everyone, and there's always going to be detractors.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because fun's such an opinion, isn't it? Everyone has a different idea of what fun is. I mean, some people find clubbing seals to death fun. Personally, I don't, but it's that kind of
well, life would be very boring if everyone had the same idea of fun. So I don't. Yeah, exactly, there's no problem with that. There's nothing wrong with. Like
Blizzard, for example, measures success on subscriptions, and they measure success on active subscriptions, not necessarily active players. And that's that's a really good way of measuring it. You've got to measure success on how many units sold, then basically, because for Guild Wars 2, the success comes with how many people have they convinced to buy the game. Technically, the only real way you can measure success, isn't it? Because if people are buying the game to play it, then it's obviously made an impact. And then I suppose you could extend that to say, well, how many active players are playing, in the later months? And you can say, well, it's then you could say from a fun aspect, you could probably say that is a success. Because then you can actually measure the fun. Because if people are having fun, they're going to still play, aren't they? Because they don't have any other reason to be there.
There's no financial incentive.
Yeah, exactly. You don't feel obligated to log in. Once you've bought it, it doesn't matter.
I mean, I think what you're talking about really is two different things. I mean, you're talking about, measuring the success in terms of the game and then the success in terms of the goals of what the developers hope to achieve with the game. I mean, on a purely cold, hard numbers point of view, it's all going to come down to, as you say, how many units will they sell? But that in itself be taken separately from how much fun people are having, which is, open to all sorts of interpretation. And you can't really... It's not something that you can lie down and say, well, you know what, ArenaNet has been 95% successful in achieving their, fun quota that they hope to achieve. So I think people need to just realise that it's a lot more complicated than that.
Yeah, I just find it interesting that they said that they're, how they measure success, and that is it fun question. Is it an interesting way of doing it? And it begs that whole where do you start measuring from fun? Because I could make the best game in the world, which is amazingly fun and would and everyone would absolutely love to play it. But if it never was hyped or never got the publicity, was never there, then although the game might be the perfect epitome of fun ever created,
No one heard of it.
But no one's playing it. It doesn't mean it's any less. It's just an odd, abstract way of measuring fun. But I suppose once everyone's bought the game and then everyone is playing the game, depending on how many people are still playing the game, I'd say that was a good measure.
They're talking about measuring. When they talk about measuring it, they're talking about, internally the tests that they do with people in their different departments, playing through different parts of the game, and giving their feedback and, talking, communicating. It's a strange concept. We're going to sit around and talk about if we had a good time. Yeah, that's what they're talking about in the blog post. And also they're talking about the feedback that they get from the beta weekend. That's where they're talking about measuring fun. Out of the amount of people who've played it, how much, generally good feedback have they got? It's not something that can be exactly measured. I don't think they're really that they're taking an exact measurement of fun, because that would be completely preposterous. But that's what they're talking about in the blog post.
It's how they define fun, I suppose, isn't it? And how they're doing it at the moment.
Well, if most people come back, we had a great time, awesome. If they don't, then they're going to sit around and talk about, well, how can we improve this? I mean, they are essentially boiling down everything to that root question, which is, what's the objective of a game? You sit around, play a game, and hopefully you get some fun out of it. That's all it needs to do. That's all it needs to be. And the more fun, the better. And
you can definitely see them developing that.
Their logic is probably the most fun that people can have. The more fun that people can have, the more successful it's going to be, the more units we're going to sell, because people are going to talk about this.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
well, there you go.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. I think that covers it. Oh, massive ramble about fun. Okay, there's the link to the blog post that ArenaNet gave us to tease us with more information of Guild Wars 2 before the next beta weekend / release date announcement. I just want to make pain.
I vote for release date.
I know, so do I. Wow. I want a release date more than a beta weekend, to be honest. Like and comment and subscribe if you want to get involved, and we will be back with more content